What is up, everyone? Today we are getting into my March 11th NCAA Bracketology Predictions. Things are getting real now, guys. We are just 6 days away from Selection Sunday. Some bids have already been made. Just want to list them. Morehead State out of the Ohio Valley, Longwood out of the Big South, uh, Stetson out of the Atlantic Sun, and a big one, Drake out of the Missouri Valley beat Indiana State last night, or yesterday, not night, but in the daytime. But anyway, guys, it is crazy. We are getting into this. Aren't you guys just so excited for the bracket to release? But we got Champ Week to take care of first as we look at the bracket watch. Top overall seed does remain Purdue right now. If they win their Big Ten championship, they will lock up that one. I believe so. And then the first team out, we have Villanova. Villanova took a tough loss to someone that I forgot to. And then St. John's is the last team in. We see this here. Joe Lundardi gives a good old win and in scenario for all of these teams. So take a look, find your team if it's on there. You know, there's a lot of big ones for these guys, but yes. Let's get into the bubble. So last four buys are Colorado State climbing up here. Seton Hall, TCU, and Mississippi State. Obviously, last four in Indiana State. Indiana State's going to be an interesting to watch out for. Obviously, if Joe Lundardi is making the bracket, he says they're in as of this time, but there's all of still conference week to go through. Bid thieves that potentially could come up. And some other things. You know, obviously some of these teams might get some wins. So Indiana State, I do really believe in Indiana State. I think they deserve to be in the tournament, but they're going to need some help right now, I think, for them to get in. But then we have Virginia, Colorado, and St. John's. First for out, we have Villanova, New Mexico, Texas A&M, who beat I want to say it was Ole Miss pretty good. And then we have Iowa last night losing to Illinois. That could have been a big-time resume booster. They're going to need to do well in the Big Ten tournament. Also, New Mexico, what a wild one versus Utah State on Saturday. Next for out, we have Wake Forest trying to climb back up, Pittsburgh, Providence, Memphis. All of these teams have big games coming up in their conference tournaments, so keep an eye out for them. But let's look at this bracket here now. The 68-team bracket. Starting out with this first four. Indiana State, obviously going to be dropping into the play-in after losing to Drake. Then we have Colorado, new to the field as an 11. Merrimack, new to the field as a 16. They, I believe, are trying to clinch up their conference. I don't remember that one. I believe their championship is coming up soon. I think it was the Horizon, but I'm not sure. And then Longwood obviously clinched a spot. And yeah, those are those teams. But in the Midwest region, we do have Purdue as the top seed right there. Clemson jumping up to a 5 seed. Vermont's going to be climbing up to a 13, a Vermont team that I'm pretty darn high on right there. Then we have Duke falling to a 3 seed. Toledo's going to be jumping up to a 14 seed. Obviously, Duke losing to North Carolina this past weekend. And then Utah State, not sure why they're dropping. Probably because of another team, but they beat New Mexico. They got a bit. They're the number 1 seed in the Mountain West, if you didn't know. All right, in the East region, we have UConn as that number 1. Dayton falling to an 8 seed. Michigan State's going to be dropping down to a 9 after losing to Indiana. Michigan State's not quite safe. They need to at least get one win in their tournament for them to at least be safe. And then we have South Carolina going to be dropping down to a 12, taking a loss to Tulsa. Just did my American Conference tournament predictions like 10 minutes ago. But then we do have Kansas fall into a 4 seed. They got absolutely shellacked by Houston. That was embarrassing for Kansas right now. They are kind of struggling Kentucky, though, jumping up to a 3 seed, obviously beating Tennessee. Huge win for them. And then we have Charleston falling to a 14. Boise State going to be jumping up to a 7, and Colgate dropping down to a 15. I was anticipating, honestly, North Carolina to move up to the number 1 line. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. We will get into that in just a minute. But then in this region, we have Houston as the number 1 seed. St. Mary's going to be falling to an 8 seed. Obviously, Houston dominating Kansas. Then we have Washington State falling to a 6 seed. They lost to Washington, I believe, on Friday. And then Mississippi State's going to be dropping down to an 11. Texas Tech, that's actually wrong. I think he meant Colorado State, new to the field, as a 10, because Texas Tech's been in for a while. And then Marquette's going to be jumping back up to the 2 seed. All right, West region here. Tennessee as the number 1 seed, even after losing to Kentucky. It was a key chance for Arizona to jump back up to the number 1, but guess what? Arizona lost, I believe, to Arizona State or SEC or USC, I believe, right? USC, yeah, that's who it was. That just cannot happen if you're Arizona trying to get the number 1 seed. But then we have Montana, new to the field as a 15. We're just going to go up here, I guess. Drake's going to be new to the field as a 10. Grand Canyon going to be jumping it to an 11. Nevada, who did they beat? I completely forgot. Let's take a look. But they're on like a 6-game winning streak. I know that. They beat UNLV. 7-game winning streak for Nevada. Watch out for them. Red hot coming into this tournament. Last year they came into the tournament very cold, and they did lose bad to Arizona State in the first 4. So kind of flipping it up this year. But then we have, Grand Canyon jumping up to the 11. James Madison have their championship, I believe, tonight. For the Sun Belt, let's take a look. Yep, against Arkansas State. Also, some other ones to keep in mind. Samford has their championship versus East Tennessee State and the Southern Conference. A lot of semifinals, but those are going to be the 2 that would qualify today. All right, that's the bracket. A lot of craziness going on in the world of college basketball. But let's get into the bracketology predictions here. All right, starting out with Indiana State taking on Colorado. Really good matchup. I like both these teams at this point. Wasn't high on Colorado coming into the year, but they have rode the ship, have won like 6 straight to make it back into this field. But I do believe in Indiana State a little bit more. That one can go either way, though. And then I do like Grambling State over Norfolk State. St. John's, I think, would pull off the win over Virginia. And Longwood, I think, would beat Merrimack. Okay, Purdue versus Grambling State. I do have Purdue winning that one. Texas, I think, would hold off Florida Atlantic. And then I'm going to go with the 12/5 upset here. Why not go with Richmond to beat Clemson out of the A10? Richmond, the top seed in that conference. Not a believer, honestly, in Clemson that much. I mean, they're a decent team, but if there is a good 12 seed, I do like the upset potential there. And then Alabama, Vermont. Give me 13 seed Vermont upsetting Alabama. Here goes the madness in this bracketology. Why not have some fun here? Vermont, that's a team I am very high on out of the American East. They're a great program, as I mentioned in all my bracketologies. And Alabama, a team that almost loses to Arkansas, one of the worst teams in the SEC, a talented team, but has had a very disappointing season. So maybe that could be upset territory there for Alabama, especially if they have to play a team like Vermont, I think. All right, Florida, Indiana State. That's a good matchup, but I do like Florida. Duke, I think, would beat Toledo. Utah State, Seton Hall, 7 versus a 10. Give me Utah State. And then Iowa State, I think, beats Sam Houston. Okay, Tennessee versus Longwood. Give me the Volunteers. Still a big-time believer in that team. And then Northwestern Oklahoma, 8 versus a 9 seed. I do like Northwestern. Yeah, I'm going to go with Northwestern in that game. As a BYU fan, I would honestly be terrified of James Madison. They're a great team, but I do like my Cougars in that one, as well as Auburn to beat a good Samford team. Nevada versus Grand Canyon. Again, Nevada is a great team, but so is Grand Canyon. I do have to go with Nevada, though, the way they've been playing to beat the Antelopes. Just a tough matchup for them. And then I do like Baylor to beat Oakland. Gonzaga, Drake. Let's go with the 10/7. Drake's playing good basketball. No disrespect to Gonzaga. A lot of good matchups here. I could see a lot of these games going either way, but I do like Arizona beating Montana. Okay, next up we have UConn taking on Stetson. Give me UConn, although Stetson has a very good guard. Forgot his name, but last game he scored like 40 points against Austin Peay. But then Dayton versus